featuring the UCI Mountain Bike World Cup 98.
Welcome to you. My name is Mark Siegel. This is Kaprun, Austria, for the penultimate round of the Grundig Downhill World Cup, the 7th round of this year's series, and what beautiful weather we have here for you today. It was actually awful last night, pouring down with rain, thunder and lightning, but look at the change now. Superb turnout with the crowd as well. Got roughly a crowd of about 10,000 up and down the course in the main arena. The Germans and the Austrians pouring out to this event, as they have done since 1988, actually. First on the calendar, the official World Cup calendar in 1993, but being used as a race site since '88, so it's in its 10th year, one of the stalwarts of downhill and indeed World Cup racing, much like Hufel is in the cross-country. But the crowd's already assembling for the races coming down. The course really drying out very, very fast from the semi-finals this morning. And this is where we actually are in Austria, not far from Kitzbühel. Zell am See, that's the main town, about 6 kilometers from Kaprun. Salzburg, the airport that we all flew into, about an hour and a quarter's drive away. But just so we can show you how the course looks, this is Johan Engström, the Scott rider. The male Scott rider. The course, 4.2 kilometers long, drops about 600 meters, roughly about 600 meters, and it's very, very fast. We're just coming out the section now. And this continues very, very fast along here. Rocky, quite rocky as well. Not as rocky as Sierra Nevada last week, but a couple of very tight bends here. So important for the riders to actually keep their line on those bends, because you can scrub off a lot of speed. You can scrub off actually too much, down into an almost a pipeline type effect, like that at Plymouth in the cross-country race. Fairly rocky down here. Just one line. Watch out for that tree there on the left. And again, coming down into another fast section, a left-right. The surf is quite good now, actually. It has dried out, even in the forested sections, it's dried out. This, I believe, is the section where Britain's Helen Mortimer crashed yesterday in practice and totaled her bike. Now we're going back into a tree-line section, and that lasts for about 200-300 meters. And then it's on to a very, very fast section. This is just coming out of that wooded section. Now onto the grass. That's extremely fast, that part there. Rough. Probably getting up to speeds of about 50-60 kph. There'll be a motorbike riding alongside the riders here. You'll get an indication of the speed there. Then they drop down on this section here. Very steep, actually. Can't see from this sort of angle, but I ran up here the other day and it's tough. That's a big drop there. And then an off-camber section now. And then we come back down into the main arena. Another big drop, not as won't get such a big jump off of there as the previous one, but then very, very fast over the finish line. The men probably doing about 5 minutes for this 4.2 kilometer course, about 600 meters, starts at about 1,400 meters and finishes about 800. In the standings, after 6 events, Anne-Caroline Chasson, Missy Jove in second place. Lee Donovan actually not here today. She felt that she couldn't catch Anne-Caroline or Missy for first or second places, so she's actually waiting till Japan in the finals, but Missy Jove has actually set the fastest time so far in the women's run. The men, as I said, in their qualifying doing about just over 5 minutes. And the women, the fastest woman in qualifying was Anne-Caroline Chasson with a time of 5:32. Missy actually qualifying in 14th spot, but she is still trying to recover from that ankle injury. And this section here, off camber, slight little jump there as you saw Missy twist on the jump. Now this is where the speed trap is. We had it's the Volvo speed trap. We had the women timed in qualifying this morning, or in the semi-run, should I say. Fastest rider down here, Sari Jorgensen, with the speed of 54.56 kilometers per hour. Now the drop down into the arena for Missy Jove. She had that time to beat from Malin Lindgren of 5:37. Beat it easily, 5:26.70. That is the time set earlier by Missy Jove. That is the time set to beat the rest of the 5 riders. The current situation at the moment: Kim Sonia second, Giovanna Benazzi, the 2-time world champion, third, Tracy Mosley, brilliant riding from the Brit, in 4th spot, Regina Stiefel, won here 4 times, 2-time World Cup winner in 5th, Malin Lindgren, who had set the previous fastest time before Missy came down, but then a whole host of other riders came down a lot faster. Marla Streb in 7th spot. Marla actually qualified in 6th in qualifying. Katrina Killer-Miller, 8th spot, winner of the Swatch Dual World Series yesterday in 8th. Tara Yarnes 9th. Sari Jorgensen, the fastest rider through that speed trap, in 10th. The rest of the riders: Kasper, Rubel, Tots, Steiger and Repo. But now we're going back up to the start. This is Nolvin Lecaillère, the Team GT rider, 5th fastest in qualifying. Down into the wooded section. This is probably the most technical part of the course. Now we're into the middle part of the course. The split time of Jove, 2:25.95. Don't forget, Jove was the fastest at the bottom of the course. So Lecaillère, she's got that final time set by Jove of 5:20.26.70 to beat. Lecaillère, winner of a World Cup race back in 1995 with compatriot Frank Roman. Mont St. Anne, 1995. She won that as a junior, and that was superb riding then. Down into the wooded section here, drying out nicely for these riders. I didn't think it would do, actually. The GT rider overshadowed somewhat by Anne-Caroline Chasson. In previous years, before 1993, she actually was the babe of French downhilling. Still is a superb rider, and that time, 5:26.70 to beat. Sonia in 2nd spot, 182 down. Benazzi, the 2-time world champion, in 3rd. With Tracy Mosley, the British rider. This is the section where it's really, really anaerobic. It looks slightly uphill. If it is, it's only very, very slightly. This really does test the riders. I was talking to Will Longdon earlier this morning. He said it's so difficult. He took his goggles up even earlier on the course than this, and you can just see by Lecaillère how difficult it is. Her shoulders are rocking, really so physically demanding. And then on top of that, she's just got to make herself ready for this downhill section. It's so easy to lose the bike on this part of the course. Going down to that drop-off. Very careful over there for Lecaillère. 7th at South Africa. 1st round, 18 seconds slower than Anne-Caroline Chasson. Chasson was the fastest qualifier this morning with a time of 5:32.10. She was 14.43 seconds than the second place rider Mercedes Gonzalez. But Lecaillère, she's got that time to beat of 5:26.7 set by Missy Jove, and she might just do that. She's very close indeed, and she's just inside. 0.08 inside 5:26.62. Back to the start now for the 4th place rider, Elke Brut. Toyota star, teammate of Britain's Tim Gould, Steve Larson on that team, the American champion. Dave Cullinan, of course, the leader of the Swatch Dual World Series. And don't forget that midpoint time. Jove was the fastest at the bottom there. She's the fastest, 5:25, 95, 5:26, just outside that for Broussard. And this sort of course suiting Broussard tremendously. She's a very, very powerful rider. Didn't have a good ride here last year, but she is extremely strong. Schwinn Toyota rider hasn't had a brilliant season so far this year. She started well, but then tailed off somewhat, for her standards anyway. Third in South Africa. Last year was her best year on the circuit. Taking that corner very wide indeed, and too wide for Elke Broussard, much like her teammate Jürgen Beneke actually a couple of years back in 1996. She hasn't even got a saddle actually. My word, that was so similar to Jürgen Beneke's ride a few years ago when he was the fastest qualifier. And there is her saddle, her physique saddle. Not doing her physique much good now, is it? I hope she doesn't try and sit down. Ouch. But Broussard, that is going to ruin her run. And she wasn't that much slower than Missy Jove at that midpoint check. Very, very difficult, and especially on this part of the course. Just as I was saying it, she was coming around that corner very, very wide indeed. Too wide as it turned out to be. But the fastest time, which I don't think Broussard will now threaten at all, 5:26.62, set by the fifth fastest qualifier, Nolwenn Le Caillere, the Team GT rider. This will be very difficult for Broussard now. Let's just watch her technique down here. Very hard indeed. She's taking it very gingerly, isn't she? Ouch. That really was unfortunate for the Schwinn Toyota rider. Broussard helped on the circuit by good friend Missy Jove way back in 1994. We're just actually going to take a quick look at where she lost her saddle. This was it. She just lost it. She just went too wide, didn't she? I don't know whether she lost concentration on that section, but just look at that bike bounce away. I think it must have caught one of the poles on the course. But we're actually going up to the top. Broussard obviously not going to threaten the time of Nolwenn Le Caillere. A time, eventual time, 5:45. But this is Marielle Seiner, a surprise silver medalist at the Worlds last year. That was on tape. This also on tape. Coming up to the midpoint check, 2:25.10 by Le Caillere, the fastest rider at Seiner a lot slower, 2:29.8. She's going to have a lot to beat at the bottom part of this course. We are now live with the hot chili rider. She did actually come on song very, very well last year. 11th in the World Cup, 2nd at the Worlds. That really was a huge surprise for this Swiss rider, but it was in Switzerland. Actually says a lot when the World Championships are in your home country. Coming into the section that Elke Broussard had difficulty with. Quite rocky down this. Drying out perfectly for these riders. Negotiates that bend very well, very gingerly indeed. And she wasn't to know that Broussard had problems there. And that time, 4:26.62 to beat, set by Nolwenn Le Caillere, the Team GT rider. That's her in your picture now. Excellent Team GT rider. Nolwenn, now 20 years old. Won that World Cup race 3 years ago as a 17-year-old. Her only World Cup win, but Marielle Seiner had a qualifying time of 5:47.05 this morning. She's going to have to go a lot faster to come first here today. Or if she wants to beat the time set by Nolwenn, 5:26.62. She started racing in 1993, riding for the Hot Chili team. The designer of the bike she's riding now actually switched to the Scott team, taking off this jump here, but takes it very, very carefully. Leaning into the off-camber section there. Doesn't take much air, does she? Now, this is very fast indeed down here. She was the fastest, the second fastest rider on this section in the Volvo Speed Trap, 553.02 kilometers per hour down here. Now, this last drop before she gets into the arena, 5:26.62 to beat. She's going to beat the time set by Le Cahier. She's not. She's past that. She's past Jove's time. 5:29.20 spot. Only two more riders to come, Mercedes Gonzalez and Anne-Caroline Chasson. And the leader at the moment, Nolwenn Le Cahier. Back to Le Cahier's teammate, Mercedes Gonzalez, the Spanish rider, winner of the Spanish National Championships about 2 or 3 weeks ago, in fact, probably about a month ago now. This was on tape. This is her coming into the midpoint check. 2:25.10 by Le Cahier there. Gonzalez only slightly outside that, 2:25.8. Great riding from the Spaniards. Mercedes Gonzalez, a former motocross rider, knows how to handle a bike. A long travel bike as well. Motocross bikes having 9-10 inches of travel. These bikes now, anything from 6 up to 8. Le Cahier fastest, 5:26.62. Mercedes Gonzalez. Excellent year in 1994 in America and came onto the world scene. And what a brilliant year for her that was. 8th in the World Cup, 2nd at the Worlds. This is the section where Elke Brutzart lost it, and Mercedes Gonzalez going fairly wide there, but holds on to her bike. Good job for Mercedes. She was 2nd back at Snoqualmie in the 5th round of the Downhill World Cup. She was so happy with that. She was a massive 27.79 seconds behind Anne-Caroline Chasson, but she was very, very happy. She was back on form there, and this is the section where it's really difficult for these riders. Practically every single one of them standing up. Difficult with these bikes. You want the saddle low so you can negotiate the bends, but not much good when you're wanting to pedal. You can't almost lock out your legs. That's where you get your most powerful. 5:26.62 to beat. Nolwenn Le Cahier, her teammate. The lowest Le Cahier will come now is 3rd spot. Will her teammate beat her? Mercedes relatively slow through the speed trap here on this last off-camber section. 52.15, takes the jump there well. You'd expect that from a motocross rider, ex-motocross rider. Le Cahier, expectant. She wants that winner, I am sure. But then she's going to have to contend with Anne-Caroline Chasson. Mercedes never won a World Cup race, and she's going to do it this day. She's gone past Le Cahier's time. She's got a bit slower on the last part of the course. 5:31.24. That's 5th spot for Mercedes Gonzalez. Just one rider to go. And the leader at the moment, Nolwenn Le Cahier. Anne-Caroline Chasson, the Team Sun rider, the leader of the Grundig Downhill World Cup. And what a superb rider. 5 wins already this season. Fastest in qualifying by 14 seconds. This is the midpoint check, 2:16.9, 8 seconds faster than Le Cahier. I really don't think that anyone at the moment can touch this woman. She really is an astonishing rider. I was going to say superb, but I won't. Oh, I just did, didn't I? Anne-Caroline Chasson, the Team Sun rider, the best woman rider in the world at the moment, by a mile. Roughly about 150 points in front of Missy Giove in the standings. This is the section where Brutzart lost it. I can't see Chasson losing it here. Great technique around that bend. Knee down, much like a Grand Prix motorcyclist, actually. And onto the very fast section. Le Caillere, she knows she won't be lower than second, but she wants to be first. But unless Anne-Caroline Chasson makes a huge mistake, I don't think she will be, that 6th win of this season will be taken away from her. The only aberration at Nevegal in Italy, round 2, went slightly off course, crashed, got some tape marking in her rear block. Like the rest of the riders, Chasson low on the saddle. I don't know whether she actually uses a communique like the cross-country riders do with team managers. But Chasson was very slow through the speed trap on the off-camber section that Chasson, that she's coming to now. Just over this lip here, jumps that. She was only 12th fastest in the Volvo speed trap, 50.76. Jumps that section like Gonzalez. But Nolven, I think she knows she's not going to beat Anne-Caroline Chasson. I bet she rues the day that Chasson came onto the world scene from BMX. Her 2nd ever race, 2nd or 3rd ever race was the World Championships at Metabier. She won that, and she's going to win this race by a mile. 5:26.62 to beat. It's going to be something like 5:13.46 for Anne-Caroline Chasson. Her 6th out of 7 wins so far this season. Well, being congratulated by Nolven. Nolven just, well, how on earth are these other women going to beat this woman now? She's got stronger, she's matured, and she really is out of this world.
We're going to be taking a look at our
and confirmation of the women's results now. 5:13.46 for Chasson. 13 seconds, just over 13 seconds in front of Le Caillere. Jove, a brilliant 3rd spot with a bad ankle. Kim Saunier, Volvo Cannondale in 4th spot. That's a great result for her. Marielle Sainer in 5th. Gonzalez 6th. Benazzi in 7th spot, but she'll be happy with that. Good result for Kim Saunier there. I think that's her best of the season. Superb for her, seeing as though she has got a very bad ankle at the moment. But Anne-Caroline Chasson, simply superb. We'll be back with the men's race after this break. Join me for that. Welcome back to Kaprun in Austria for the penultimate round of the men's Grundig Downhill World Cup. Beautiful weather, great crowd here. Turned up in their thousands for this event, as they have done over the past few years. Indeed, over the past 10 years, the events have been held here. And the standings for the men so far after 6 events: Nicolas Voulios 11 points ahead of the Spanish rider David Vasquez, the Volvo Cannondale rider. Cedric Gracia, another Frenchman, in 3rd. Engstrom dropping down to 4th spot. He was in 2nd. Steve Peat, the British rider, riding for Team GT, in 5th, with Michael Pascal, well, I never, another Frenchman, in 6th. Scott Sharple's the best run so far of the men that have been down the mountain. This is him now. Lying 8th spot in the World Cup. 5th at a 3rd, shall I say, at Sierra Nevada. A 2nd at Big Bear. And Scott Sharples, the big Aussie, who was 2nd in qualifying here last year behind Basta Beva, the man who was fastest in qualifying last year and indeed this year, 1998. Scott Sharples obviously likes this course very well. He didn't qualify very well, reason being he had a puncture. But he flew down the mountain earlier today. The Trek Volkswagen rider really is in a very rich vein of form even, and came across the line in a time of 4:49.08 to pip his good friend Michael Ronning, another Aussie. He was 9.22 seconds faster. And poor old Scott has got to sit at the bottom of the mountain now. But actually, Mike King has now disposed of Michael Ronning. He's in 2nd spot, but Sharple's still at the top. Christian Talifa in 4th, another Frenchman, Janet, in 3rd. Herin, the winner of the World Cup from last year, 5th. here at the moment. Running sixth, Michael Del Diek in 7th spot. Herring, of course, won the World Cup here last year by getting a 7th spot. This is Scott Sharples, as I said, in a fabulous vein of form. He won his first ever Norbury event at Mammoth Mountain, which is very similar to this course. They've actually changed it slightly, but still very fast. And he's looking very composed now. And now we're looking up at the mountain to the 30th fastest qualifier this morning, Miles Rockwell, the Volvo Cannondale, like Scott Sharples, coming back to the sort of form that saw him win here in Kaprun back in 1995. The big American rider broke both his legs in the winter last year, winter of 1997. He's got that time to beat set by Scott Sharples, 4:49.08. Rockwell, winner of the Kamikaze Downhill when he beat our very own and much missed Jason McCroy. Rockwell is not going to beat the time set by Sharples. Going to go way past that. 4:56.30. 3rd spot at the moment. Miles Rockwell, as I said, great vein of form. Second recently at an American race, the Norbury race at Breckenridge, just behind Shaun's March. The winner of that is his first win in a Norbury race. 5th at Sierra Nevada last week after crashing twice in qualifying. Had a great run there. Now back up the mountain to number 49. This is Claudio Cagliari. The Swiss rider had a qualifying time this morning of 5:14.3. The fastest time set by Basta Beva, 5:02.19. And Cagliari is not going to beat the time set by Scott Sharples. Way past it now. Looking good for Scott. But as I said, the fastest time set by Basta Beva, 5:02.19. Second fastest this morning, Nicolas Vullios, just 0.24 behind that at 5:02.43. As we watch Cagliari just come across the line, he won't be happy with that run, 5:09.63. But Scott Sharples still in 1st spot. He did this last week. He qualified about 33rd, 34th, and had to sit here. Was only beaten by 2 men, Paul Misser and indeed Nicolas Vullios. Second fastest qualifier today. Looking very pensive at the moment. Scott Sharples. Further up the hill. Eric Carter, the team GT rider, number 15. That means he's 15th overall in the World Cup. Don't forget, he's got that time to beat set by Scott Sharples, 4:49.08. The King of Smooth, who won the Swatch Dual World Series yesterday. Like Brian Lopes and Dave Cullinan, very, very good at downhill as well. And this course drying out superbly now. No rain at all, takes that bend really fast. Excellent cornering from Eric Carter, really putting the hammer down now. This is what he'll have to do. That time to beat, 4:49.0.08. King 2nd at the moment, Rockwell 3rd, and Stéphane Jani, the Frenchman, in 4th at the moment. That time, 4:49.08, set by Scott Sharples. Eric Carter really is flying at the moment. Teammate of Steve Peat. 2 exceedingly good downhillers and dual riders. But the ever-pensive Scott, punctured in the semis this morning. Because of that, had to qualified in 54th spot. As I said, last year he actually qualified here in 2nd spot, but he had a very bad run. Had a mechanical on that run, finally. Finished in the 50s last year. And this is where Corrado Herring actually won the World Cup by coming 7th The event won by Johnny Tomac, JT. And it doesn't look like Eric Carter is going to get near the time set by Scott Sharples. Scott's time looking very, very good at the moment. It really is looking superb. Corners there well, but his cornering technique is not going to come back on him. 4:49.08. He's a long way behind that. 5:04.52. 14th spot at the moment. He'll be disappointed. Shakes his head there. Knows that must have been a bad run. Could have had difficulties further up the course. As we go back up to number 17, Karim Amour, another GT rider, although riding for GT France. Used to ride for Peugeot Saxe. Like Carter, actually, a good dual rider, good dual slalom rider. And another one of the coterie of French downhillers. They really do produce superb downhill riders and indeed cross-country guys. 41st in the World Cup last year. Wasn't as good as his 95 year when he was second. But getting into a time trial tuck now. Shame he can't put some bars on there, isn't it? Very, very low though. So difficult to pedal here. Really killing the thighs. But this line now drying out very well indeed. The crouch line there. A bit clean round that bend. He wants to be clean down here, but his time at the moment doesn't look like it's going to threaten Scott's time. Just leans into the off-camber section there, takes a little bit of air. 4:49.08 to beat. It's going to be a long way for that though. Sharples' time stands again, much like Sierra last week, round 6. Sharples moving slowly up the tables now. Second, a Big Bear he was. Third at Sierra Nevada. Will it be his first spot? First spot. But Karim Amour comes across the line. 4:59.01. 9:93 off. Well, the Frenchman couldn't dislodge Scott Sharples, but it's another Frenchman now. This is Guillaume Koch from the Alsace region of France. Tall, languid style, signed by Scott way back in 1995. Really is a big guy, much like Rob Warner. And his time actually is looking quite good at the moment. Difficult for him to get low on the bike. He's going to have about 10 seconds now, and I don't think he's going to threaten Scott Sharples' time once again. He's going to be close though. Good that the rain's gone now. Those guys are able to take that corner very, very quickly. That's going to go against Sharples' time. But 4:56.29 for Koch. Third spot at the moment. Fast and furious. These guys are steaming down here. Fastest man this morning, Bastabeva, 5:02.19. As we go back to another Scott rider, a teammate of Guillaume Koch. This is Cyril Lagnier, 19th in the world place, just one spot behind his teammate Lagnier, and one place behind him on the training run, the final run today here in Kaprun. This section very, very long. It's quite deceptive. And the timing lights for the speed for these guys just at the bottom here. But he's going to go past the time set by Sharples. It's getting nail-biting for the Aussie rider. Lagnier coming across the line about 4:58. 4:58.90. I think he's disappointed with that. Scott likes the look of that. You're doing well, Scott, aren't you? Nice and cool. He likes the hot seat, he says, but he's going to have to beat the Italian champion, number 21, Gianluca Bonanomi. Lagnier wasn't able to dislodge the Australian, but will Bonanomi be able to do that? on the longest, most difficult section of the course. The 6th at Kwame, his best result of the season. He's going to be quite close to Scott Sharples, but he's not going to beat him. The Bianchi rider's gone past the time now. Sharples is safe. 4:54.31. That's the second fastest time so far today, set by Gianluca Nomi. But this was the man who very kindly came down the mountain for us with a camera on his back. Johan Engström, who actually isn't feeling very good at the moment, is having problems with a flu-like bug. Felt absolutely dreadful last week at Sierra Nevada. By dint of that, he didn't have as good a run as he would have liked. And indeed, it's affecting him here. I spoke to him after the semi-run, and he really wasn't very confident, but still, an excellent rider. Used to ride very, very well in the wet, not so well in the dry, but he seems to have got a lot better. He's getting stronger, but so far the fastest man, Scott Sharples, 4:49.08, with Bernonomi, the Italian Bianchi Martini rider, in second spot. Engström, second at Leger in France. 7th South Africa, 3rd at Nevergo in the pouring, pouring rain. Bear and Sierra weren't so good for him. So Kwame, where Steve Peat, the GT rider, won, was quite good, but Engström just hanging out there on that corner. Slightly off camber there, coming down to the little drop. Takes a little bit of air and gets slightly crossed up at the front. Riding flats. Johan does tend to do that. Well, that time of Scott Sharples is looking quite safe at the moment, 4:49.08. Engström is going to be quite close, but he's not going to beat it. He's enjoying taking air, but I'm not surprised he's not going to beat it, because he isn't feeling too well. 6th spot at the moment, 4:56.81. They're now down into the top 20 with an action replay of Johan's technique there. Just slightly crossing up. This is Marcus Klausmann, the 2nd place rider in the World Cup back in 1996. Didn't do too well here at Kaprun, which was won that year by Rob Warner, the British rider, a first ever British downhill win. That was followed up this year by Steve Peat and Kwame. Marcus really ought to stick his elbows in here. It would help him tremendously. Should take a tip from the time trialists. Tuck your body in. Makes you that much more aerodynamic. Scott Sharples, 4:49.08. Bernonomi over 5 seconds behind, with Mike King in 3rd at the moment and Guillaume Koch in 4th. But Marcus really ought to stick those elbows in. Come on, Marcus. Powerful rider. Last season rode for the Sintesi Velici team. Wasn't too happy there. Joined B1, much, much happier. Going well at the moment, 7th in the World Cup. Takes that very well indeed. I watched him in the semi-run this morning and had huge air off of that jump. But once again, I don't think he's going to threaten Scott Sharples' time, and this is really turning out to be a superb ride by the Australian. 2nd at Big Bear, 14th at Snoqualmie, 3rd at Sierra Nevada for Scott Sharples, and he's looking good at the moment with Marcus Klausmann coming towards the line. He's not going to threaten at all. 4:58.16. And now we go back up the mountain to the new best split time set by rider number 20, Florent Pousson. And guess what? He rides for Team Sun. Used to be the all-conquering Team Sun. Not as dominant as they used to be, but he's looking on this section. Great technique there. Goes out wide on that bend, then chops right in. best season way back in 1995. As we take another look at Scott Sharples, the leader at the moment, and Poussin has got to beat that time, 4:49.08. Poussin never won a World Cup. Has a best result so far this season of 6th at Leger in France. Most of the French riders there know that course like the backs of their hand. Again, really wants to tuck in here. That's it, down, tuck in. Keep your body as small as possible. Don't forget that time to beat, 4:49.08, and Poussin is looking smooth and deceptively quick at the moment. He's going to be close, but I don't think he's going to be as close as he should be. But he's still got another 20-odd seconds, in fact. Unfortunately, our clock has stopped. There it is, 4:38. Having problems there. I don't know what the time is. I'm afraid I can't tell you that. This really is rather annoying, but we want to see what Poussin does. Let's hope that the onside announcer, Peter Grace, can tell us the time. 4:53, past that. Doesn't threaten that time set by Scott Sharples. Doesn't look too happy, does he? Laurent Poussin, the Team Sun rider. Just a slow-mo here. Crosses up like Klausman, doesn't get as much air, and almost bottoms out. Upside down forks for the Sun team. Using all of his 6 inches of travel at the front. Good technique there, leans into the hill. The back wheel just jumping around, but he's in control, or was in control. So's that man, hey, super cool. I'm the farm. Scott Sharples, the time, 4:49.08. He knows it's good. He was quite confident after the semi-run this morning. Looks like he's, I'll have a chicken leg, a piece of bread, some Chianti. Great scenery here at Kaprun. The weather last night really was atrocious, and at the moment, well, it's actually finished now, but Friday and Saturday night they had a beer festival here, a village festival, the Dorffest. All of the Austrians out. Back to the start now for number 34, Gerwin Peters, the teammate of Basta Viva on the B1 team. This was his start. Gerwin Peters now coming to the checkpoint. Fastest time of the man set at the bottom of the mountain, 2:08.55. Peters slower than that, just about 3 seconds slower. He's got to make that now on the bottom part of the course. Talking to British rider Will Longdon after his semi-run, he said that he really got so hot here, had to take his goggles off, was running out of air. Unfortunately, we're having a few problems with the clock, so be patient, please. We'll get it to you as soon as we can, as we watch Gerwin Peters. None of the men have come a cropper in this section where El Cabrutzart did. Lost their saddle. Controlling the bike well, Gerwin. 2-time Benelux champion. Started downhilling in 1995, and like a lot of these guys, a former BMX rider. 27th in the World Cup last year, 26th at the Worlds at Chateau d'Ay. That was won by Nicolas Vullios, the leader of the Grundig World Cup at the moment. And tight at the moment, Vasquez in second, Gracier, the Frenchman, in third, Engstrom in fourth in the World Cup, Steve Peat, the British rider, in fifth spot. If Vasquez wants to overtake Vullios, he's going to have to come first, and Vullios lower than fifth spot. But at the moment, it's Scott Sharples in the hot seat, 4:49.08, with Gianluca Bononomi, the Italian champion, in second. Gerwin Peters keeps the bike on the ground there. Leans into the hill. Just a slight
Lifting of the bike there, keeps it on the ground. But again, I don't think he's going to threaten Sharple's time. The best result so far this season of 10J. He goes past the time of Scott Sharples. 4:55, 34, third spot at the moment for Gerwin. Good riding. But 4:55, 34. We look at a slow-mo of Gerwin coming just off of that lip there, chain dancing around. Despite the chain tensioner, keeping the chain on the large chain ring at the front, but really is dancing about there, isn't it? As we go back up to the start to Bruno Zanchi, a former Italian champion, a former downhill World Cup winner actually, but so inconsistent. This is on tape from earlier. Zanchi, slower than Sharples at the checkpoint, the halfway checkpoint, 2.0855. Zanchi 2:12.6, just about 3.5 seconds slower. Zanchi really does come in and out of the limelight. Unfortunate, really. Won at Åre in 1995 in Sweden. Conditions very, very different to this. It's really muddy there. Another powerful rider. Won the Junior Worlds way back in 1991. Letting the bike do a lot of the work and controlling the bike just like all of the others, just jumping over that large stone there, just jumping towards the right of the track. Obviously the best line to take and the one where most of the riders are doing that. Zanchi needs to get a lot more consistent. But that's good, he's crouching down now on the bike. 8 inches of travel on this Bianchi Martini bike. That time set by Scott Sharples, 4:49.08. Bononomi in second spot, Peters in third, Florent Pousson. We lost the clock on his run, but he's in fourth now. Quite a few riders to come though. The fastest man in qualifying was Gerwin Peters' teammate, Bastaveva. Last year, the winner was Johnny T, John Tomac. Jürgen Beneke was second last year. Nicolas Voulios was third. Tommy Missa, not riding here today, was fourth, with Gianluca Bononomi, the rider currently in second spot. He was fifth here last year, so he'll hope to repeat his top 5 performance. But I don't think his compatriot, Bruno Zanchi, is going to beat the time set by Scott Sharples. That 4:49.08 is looking safer and safer, isn't it? Going to be about 5 seconds off of that time. Really, he's having to pedal very hard down into this final section. 4:58.4, 16th, disappointing. Wow, that's taking it out of him. Bruno Zanchi with a time of 4:58.4 as we go back up to Alexandra below, the Scott rider, the former Sun Chippy man. The midpoint check, 2.0855. Below is fairly close to that. 2.08.8, very close indeed for Alexandra Below, the older of the Below brothers. While Scott Sharples waits at the bottom of the course, he'll be very keen to know that split time set by Alexandra Below. 16th in the World Cup last year. Had a very difficult start to the year last year, but got better and better. 7th at Harrisonburg in the penultimate round when there was only 6 rounds to the World Cup. He was 13th here at Kaprun last year behind Johnny T, just about 10 seconds down. And this course practically the same as it was in 1997. Doesn't jump over those groupings of rocks there, does he? Like the previous riders, takes that corner well. Had a blistering 1994 season. 23-year-old rider. Just after he'd qualified from the juniors, he was 8th in the World Cup, 6th at the Senior World Championships at Vail, Colorado. At that time, set by Scott Sharples, 4:49.08. Below wants to get down in that saddle, wants to get very, very small. So difficult for these guys. They want the power, they need the power standing up. So difficult on the thighs. Just scrubbing off a little bit of speed there. The 25th ranked rider in the World Cup. He's riding above his station at the moment. And he is looking very, very good indeed. The time set by Scott Sharples, 4:49.08, and it looks like Alexandra below is going to be a lot nearer than some of the previous riders. It might be tight, but I don't think he's going to get it. It's about 5 seconds down from that section there. And he goes past the time of Scott Sharples. My word, Scott is looking good indeed. 4:53.56, below goes into second. Only 13 more riders to come as we look at the technique of Alexandra below. Just watch the technique. Trying to keep the bike on the ground as stable as possible. Goes wide. Good line there. Just almost dabbing out. Very smooth indeed. So we go up to Benny. Jürgen Beneke, the Team Schwinn Toyota RAV4. German rider. This was on tape, 11th this year in the World Cup.